she moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and then moved back to Regina in 2015, where she worked for a company for many years. In June of 2016, Crystal launched Kendi Boutique online part-time while still working at her full-time job. And in March 2019, she opened up a small studio location downtown Regina, left her full-time job. And in May of 2020, she opened a retail store location on Hamilton Street. Last but not least, Veronica Barrow owns Verolingo Communications, an English, French translation and professional communication services provider, a seasoned public relations and community investment management professional. Barrow has 25 years of experience as a mining sector communicator and over 2 decades as an English, French translation services provider. Finding the right words to engage, touch, and prompt action and understanding is her passion. She has shared it with several organizations as a consulting copywriter and copy editor. Vera is very engaged in the community. She is on several boards, including the Elizabeth Fry Society of Saskatchewan and Sask Energy. She's been a recipient of many awards, one of them being the YWCA Sask Women of Distinction Award in Leadership. So, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to engage in this critical conversation today. I encourage all our participants to ask questions as we're going along. I will make sure we have enough time, at least 15 to 20 minutes to take your questions. So we've talked about this many times. Wesk has brought this up many times. Women entrepreneurs experience some unique barriers. And these unique barriers are the reason why women entrepreneurs' businesses don't scale to the same extent as male-owned businesses. And the primary barriers that women entrepreneurs identify are lack of access to capital, lack of access to mentors, lack of access to networks, because they're not as plugged in as male entrepreneurs are. And then the challenge of balancing family responsibilities with business growth, right? So what I want to start with is, what has been your journey as not only a female entrepreneur, but as a Black female entrepreneur? Tell us what some of the highlights have been, and tell us also a little bit about the challenges. So let's start with you, Crystal.
Okay. Well, I would say the starting off for me, I'll go with the challenges first. Resources. They want places that I knew I could go in a room where I could see somebody that I could relate to and have those conversations with. Applying for loans. Now that I did, if I knew about Wesk then, I could have, but it was also a challenge because nothing that I had was good enough, or the fact that like it would be like, they just wouldn't give me the loan. They wouldn't. So I funded my business with my own personal money, like my own saving. That's how I started funding out. I think the biggest thing is it was resource. I couldn't go somewhere where I knew I could speak to somebody who would understand my situation or the struggle that I deal with. So I self-taught myself. A lot of things. I go on Google and learn things because I didn't know where to go. And I also find that like people will just question you. Like I deal with that every day. There's challenges every day, but I've had people like ask me, is this owned by Black women? Like, oh, these are nice stuff for a Black woman. Right? So it's like, why does my color have to be a part of the conversation? Why can't you just judge based on my talent or my character or anything? So those are things that we deal with every day. But I do think we need more resource of where somebody like me can relate to. Go there and say, I have this where I can go. So I think that's the biggest challenge that as a woman, a Black woman, what I struggled with. And sometimes when I have to go to meetings, believe it or not, I had to bring either like a white friend with me or as a woman, and then a woman who is Black. If I bring like a male friend with me that's white male, they're more likely to take me serious, and that shouldn't be the world we live in. So we're already dealing with being a woman, and then being a Black woman, it's a challenge. I don't think people understand that.
It adds another layer of
Another layer on top, yeah.
challenges. And I want to get to something that you mentioned, Crystal, in a few minutes in this conversation is, what can we do about it? So I want to get to that question in a few minutes. But let's go to Vero now.
Hi. I mean, very similar experience as Crystal. For me, I spent 25 years in corporate life, and there already, so even before being an entrepreneur in corporate life, and in business in general, you encounter comments, and often they're offhand. People don't even realize how off-putting they are, or how demeaning or untrustworthy they are. But it surely does diminish your self-confidence, self-worth. And so starting with entrepreneurship, I actually wasn't even expecting that. I wasn't thinking about that. All I wanted was, to take what I've learned, to take my experience, my knowledge, my expertise, and put it out there for others to use. And I was fortunate enough that I didn't need to seek out capital. So that was a bonus for me, but it's not the case for everyone. What I did find fairly quickly, though, is that my race and my origins, because I do have an accent, and I mean, I can't get away from that, nor do I want to, that it is who I am, that was becoming an issue very quickly, very quickly. It didn't matter what I was talking about. It didn't matter what credentials I could present. My race and my background were issues. So people quickly, rather than asking me, about my credentials, my experience, they would very quickly zero in on the fact that I'm Black and where am I from and where's my accent from. Actually, again, people don't do it, I don't think, maliciously. I don't think it's, but it's still very much troublesome because it shows a lot of respect, because I have the same credentials as others, or sometimes more. And then I have a life experience that's sometimes also more, because I've lived in several countries. I've worked in several countries, So that's the part that it gets old very quick. But to tell you the truth, when I entered entrepreneurship, I did not for any second believe that that would be a factor. And then it was days, within days, it was like, okay, so if that's going to be a factor, then I'm going to own it. And my picture is everywhere. No matter where you go, whether it's on my website, if you see a brochure, my business card, my picture is there, because then you don't have to wonder. You can see it right off the bat. We can get that off the table. And then let's get to business.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize for who you are.
Absolutely not.
Cultural identity, and you talked about something else that is not really part of the conversation, but you brought up an important point in what you said is people are not meaning to do it intentionally. You said so it's not malicious, but we talk about this when women entrepreneurs go to get financing and the unconscious bias, right? So people are sometimes not even aware of the bias and the unconscious bias that's at play in relation to culture and race. So that's an important aspect that we need to unpack as well. Let's go on to you, Paula. I think you might be muted. I think Paula's lost her connection, so we just there she is. She's back.
Volume.
Well, I'm gonna keep going here, and then we'll come back to Paula when she joins us. Did we just lose Vero too? We're having some problems with our connections, with our internet connection today. So I apologize. Um, let's keep chatting here, Crystal, because Paula's back. Vero's back too. Vero, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can.
Paula? No. So we can't hear Paula yet. So I think I'm going to keep going here while we try and fix this problem, audio problem for Paula. My next question is when we had a chat to prepare for this conversation, I mean, and the title of this panel is Celebrating Women of Color in Entrepreneurship. And I was curious, and I did some digging, and I found that 22% of the population in Canada are visible minorities. And 6.5% approximately of the population in Saskatchewan are visible minorities. Now, there is a tendency to lump all visible minority people together, right? So regardless of race, ethnicity. Um, so when we were talking about women of color, all of you said it's really important to address the issues specific to Black women entrepreneurs. So I would like to hear from you how the experiences are similar across women of color as an entrepreneur and how they may be unique. So let's start with you, Vero.
I would say, I would say that there's probably more similarities when we consider women of color in general. So whether you may be of Asian background or any other, ethnic background for that matter, I think there's more similarities than differences. However, historically, there are some stigma that Black people have that other colors don't have, such as being late, being lazy, being being untrustworthy, those kind of things. And so those again are part of the subconscious that people have. And before you even enter the room, they've already labeled you that way when they saw your picture or when they saw you walk by. And so and other instances, other ethnicities don't have that generally. Actually, many other ethnicities have good points. We've all heard them. Asian people are great at math or whatever. We've all heard them. All those stereotypes, which are exactly that, stereotypes. They walk in the room before I even get there. They are there. People will judge me before I even get there.
Yes.
And so that's why that conversation is different. And that's why, for example, I appreciate the fact that you will have a different session for Indigenous people, because they're also a different ethnicity. And the stigma that they have is, again, different than the stigma that Black people have. And so, so you go and ask for a loan, for example, and and right there and then, already before you even open your mouth, you already judge that you're probably not going to succeed, you're probably not that committed, because all of these are ideas that people have ahead of time. So, and it's been my experience, if for good reason, and I mean, I'm one of these people, I have to work very hard on not being late, but that's a personality trait. It is not a race trait. That's me. That's me because I don't know. But the thing is, so I work really hard to do that, to not be late. And if I get there 2 minutes ahead of time, people make comments. Well, excuse me, you don't know me. How can you judge me before you even know me? So that's the difference. The difference is the experiences and stigma and preconceived notions that people already have are in the room before you even enter. That's what I see, and that's very different from other ethnicities.
Thank you. Before I ask Paula to speak to this, I'm going to just say that if you are not speaking, can you make sure you're muting your mic, because that might help with the audio issue we're having.
Anyways,
Paula?
I'm happy to pass the mic to somebody else.
Yeah. So Paula, I hope we can hear you now. Were you here when I asked the question? We can't hear you. So maybe we'll go to Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Crystal.
Okay. Same question.
Let's see.
I think what we have in common, like unique with each other as women of color, one, we're women. We come from different backgrounds, so we have different uniqueness that makes us who we are and what we can bring to the table. Because when the table is different, we all learn something from each other. I think that's what makes women of color unique. However, it's true when you go historical, Black people have a different, I guess I would say, struggle, like an extra layer struggle that we have to deal with. True, where people say you show up late when it coming to getting loans. Like I struggled with that, so I can speak personally for that. Like I struggle into getting a loans. It's like either they know you won't get the support that you want. You have a good business plan, you won't get the support you want, so they don't want to take a risk on you. And it took me a while. Like it was a huge challenge. That's one layer that we have to put up with. Having to work 10 times harder than the next person next to me, because somebody next to me could be doing something different or some. I would never demolish another woman's hard work, because being in business, it's already hard enough to be a business owner, and then you put being in business as a woman, it's even harder. And then a woman who is Black, it's 10 times harder. So I would have to work 10 times harder than the next person than me. One is I've always been taught work ethic, so I just know that. One, I have to prove myself. It's almost like I have to prove myself. Like, this is what you think of me, or this is what you think of me because I'm Black, but this is what I'm capable of doing, and I have to prove that to you. So it's almost like there is no option for failure. And we're human, we do fail. People should allow you to fail. That's how you learn, by failing. But it's almost like because you're Black, you shouldn't fail. You're judged by that. So I think that's a layer that like some people might not see that we struggle with. Or when business and people be like, we're all going through the same struggle. I'll give an example, like COVID right now. We're all either having to worry about making the sales as used to, or you're worrying, are they going to keep your business closed or open? That's a layer that we all understand each other. But then beyond that, it's like, no, I'm Black. Like I have to work hard. If I fail here and I go get another option, nobody will ever nobody might not give me that option. I have one company that like Wesk that like he took the chance on me. How do I know another company will take a chance on me? They might not. So that's a struggle as a Black woman that we face a day to day, and people don't see it.
Yeah, so you're carrying the burden of having to prove constantly,
to prove
right?
yourself constantly, yeah.
And for lack of a better word, it's like a double whammy. There is the female, there's the gender piece, and then there's the race piece. Paula, let's see if we can hear you now. Like,
Hello. Can you hear
oh,
me? Good.
yes.
Wow.
I mean, I have to say, we've had so many of these virtual events, so many in the last few months of COVID, and this is the first time that we've had these technical difficulties. So this is not reflective of a Wesk event generally.
So go ahead, ask me the question. I think I've missed a couple. So
yeah, just the women of color. We've talked about women of color, but also how it's important to address the issues specific to Black female entrepreneurs. And we kind of had that conversation when we were preparing for this. And how do you see where the commonalities are and where the issues are?
yes. Well, my parents told me since I was a young girl that, how to act appropriately, being professional. When I moved here, my brother and I were in fights because there was so many names that we were called, and we tried to defend ourselves. And then sometimes we became like the troubled kids, even though we were the ones who never started any problems. We were the ones who were trying to defend ourselves. So I've grown up learning and knowing that I need to be, on time, which I sometimes am smelling the flowers before I get to a location, but I come in dressed well, smelling well, makeup on, because the first 5 seconds people judge you. And I want people they're going to remember me. So what are they going to remember when they see me and when they meet me and when I leave? What do they know? What do they know about me? My, big hair, my big smile, my personality, very thoughtful, outgoing, hardworking. That's what I want people to know. But there's times, wherever you're shopping, whether you're going out, and people may watch, me or people of color, Black people, to see if they're taking something. Watching them while they could be watching other people. And so I've been teaching my children, even, especially my son when he's traveling, to not have his backpack, not to be too close to items that people may perceive him as, taking something. So it is a stigma where I've passed on to my children now of, being professional, hardworking, making sure that you're not making yourself a target. And even in my industry as an owner of a model and talent agency, I'm a bit harder on my Black models. I am, and they know it, because there's an expecting them to, just, of course, arriving early, being, fantastic, but they remember the Black girl. That was one thing that was told to me. They will remember the Black girl. So what are they going to remember?
That's really fascinating, Paula, because we need to reach a point in our society, in our community, where the conversation is two-way. Because what you're saying is, your kids, your models are carrying the responsibility of
Yeah.
making sure they're mitigating all of those judgments. But really, we need to work both ways in a community to build that strong community. So that's where we need to take this conversation a few minutes as a solution and how we address these things. Um, in the interest of time, I want to keep moving here because the next question is really around connectivity in a small community. Um, we talk about 6 degrees of separation, right? So the 6 degrees of separation is the idea that all people are like 6 or fewer social connections away. So in Saskatchewan, we're so small, and we've got this everybody knows everybody kind of notion in Saskatchewan. We're probably we have probably 2 degrees of separation in Saskatchewan. Um, so my question is, we're a small community. Does that help to address these issues, to create a balance of power, or is it worse?
It depends. Sometimes it could be a good thing. In a bigger center where there's more visible minorities, that people are just used to, people of color having businesses thriving. Being in a small city, being a small province, sometimes it's not a good thing because people don't really know. They think they know you, but they don't. They're inquisitive, like, how are you able to have this business for 20 years, which will be 20 years for me? How are you able to accomplish that? When people have talked to me on the phone and then they've set up an appointment to meet with me, people have said, "Oh, you're Black." And I said, "Yes, I am." And I don't think that they really realized or meant to say that out loud, but that is what has happened. And they're shocked. I'm used to it now. Even for advertisement in the newspaper back in the day, or in the phone book back in the day, I would use my photo because I wanted people to know who Masala is. And then when people would meet me, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that you're the owner." So I find that in a small town, that's how sometimes people think. We're in a bigger market, people are more accepting.
Okay. Good job. Paula, can you mute? Can you mute your microphone?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I agree. Like Saskatchewan, everybody knows each other, and some people are connected in different ways. But I believe that's why the conversation needs to happen. I know it's uncomfortable, and it's only uncomfortable because we're learning and we're digging deep within the conversation. And there are people that are willing to learn, people that are willing to listen and reflect. So that's why we need to have this conversation. Again, people, like for me, I'll speak, when I first opened my website, I never used my own photos. I mean, like, good for you guys to use your own photo, but I didn't use it because the judgment of, are people gonna support me because they know it's owned by a Black woman? And some people would ask me, how come you don't use your photo? How come whatever? Like, you're so beautiful, use your photo. But I'm like, but you don't get it. Like, the minute I put myself out there, will I get the support that I want? So in Saskatchewan, yes, it's small. There are people who are like, you know what? I don't care if it's owned by a Black person or whatever. Like, I just want to support you. And then there are people who will judge, but it's the matter of they want to learn, they need to learn. So having this conversation, because it's a small community, I think it's needed and it's uncomfortable. That's why you also educate us and say, let's, instead of talking to make you feel like you're being attacked or feel like, oh, you're doing something wrong, is let's have a conversation. We call each other out on things. You see something wrong, we call each other out on things, because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. And I had to ask my friend, when you mean by uncomfortable, what do you mean? Because I don't understand that, right? Like, the problem is on my end. What do you mean you feel uncomfortable? She had to educate me. She's like, you know, I have a Black friend, but I didn't know you struggle with all these things you go with. So for me, the uncomfortableness is, I didn't know. So I feel like I'm an idiot. I guess that's the word she used. Like, she's like, I feel that way. And for some people, they feel attacked because it's like, but when you feel attacked, it's because we're digging deep. We're actually having the conversation we need to be have. So it's about a conversation, and no one have to feel being attacked or like, or, you know, speaking with me this way. We call each other out and talk. So as Saskatchewan being small, I think in a good way is we're waking up. And we need to ask each other, why was it so? We all noticed this, the killing of George Floyd. We all noticed it. Why? Because we weren't so busy with our regular lifestyle. We were locked inside the house. You either sit on TV or it's all over your phone. So it shouldn't take another pandemic or another, like, somebody being killed for us to have this conversation. And I think the time is now. So it's a small community, but it's good for that.
Yeah, great point. Absolutely. You know, some of the worst catastrophic events, whether it's in our personal lives or in our communities and in society, will actually transform our society. And I think what happened May 25th has really led to a movement again and a revival of a movement. And here we are as a result of that. Over to you, Vero.
Hi. So, right, we've all said it, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, the various communities, yes, we're small and most of us know each other in some way, shape or form. You know, that doesn't matter where we see each other. At some point in time, we all bump into each other and have small degrees of separation. I'd say it's probably 1 degree of separation here, but it's what we do with that separation, or actually with that small knit community, that matters. And what I find is that we don't really leverage that. We don't leverage the fact that you know, we are a small community. And so, you know, I mean, when I announced that I was going in business, I got a lot of, you know, hey, good for you, great, kudos or whatever. But, you know, only very few people actually reached out and said, hey, I've been there, how can I help you? I've walked in your shoes. It was 20 years ago, granted, but some of the stigma is still the same. How can I help you? And that's the piece. And I mean, I'm at fault. I'm at fault as well, because I haven't reached out to anybody. Well, I did reach out to one person, but it was on a Black woman. But we all have to become conscious of that and say, you know what, I've been there, I've walked in those shoes, I've learned a few things. How do I pass that on? How do I make sure that the next young woman that wants to start her own business doesn't have to find the same hurdles, so that the next time she walks in a bank, first of all, that she has the confidence to walk in the bank, but that second of all, she's armed with the arguments that will deflate any question as far as, you know, the validity of her education, the validity of her integrity, the validity of, you know, her determination, etc., of her business plan, all of that. And so to me, it's really about leveraging what we already have. So organizations like WESC's, great organization. And I was lucky enough to be invited to an event and then meet some of the WESC people. And right away, I knew I needed to connect. But not everybody is like that. And so to me, again, it's that power of 1 degree or 2 degrees of separation to say, hey, you want to start your new business. Have you connected with WESC? WESC has a number of members that are Black, you know, or whatever other ethnicities. Maybe you ought to connect. I don't think that there's any one of us that would ever say, you know what? No, I don't want to talk to this young lady. I don't think so. And so it's leveraging those instances. And then it's for organizations such as WESC, but I mean, it's not all on WESC, obviously. But it's for organizations such as WESC to leverage other organizations that are out there. Saskatchewan Immigrant Women, you know, Black Business Owners of Canada, those kind of things. And then putting them in connection with organizations as SRIDA or, you know, the Western Economic Development Office, you know, and those sort of organizations, so that they understand that there is a difference. Because until now, we just put everybody in the same pot, thinking everybody has the same experience, and that's not true. So it's getting those organizations to understand that their programs are great, but they need to step it up a notch, because the immigrant woman that wants to start a business has different hurdles than somebody who started and was born and raised here. The Black woman, so you can be immigrant and then you're still not Black. So, but the Black immigrant woman also has another hurdle, you know? And so, or if you're Black from here, you still have a hurdle that's different than your average new entrepreneur. And so it's getting organization to just step it up a notch, realize that the hurdles are different, that there are more. You talked about layers earlier. It's exactly that. There are more layers to the difficulty. And so, yes, leveraging our connection, leveraging what's existing. I mean, that's the only way we can progress, and having conversations like this one, so that it gets into people's consciousness that there is a little bit of a difference. That when a white woman walks in the door, nobody second guess her credentials. When I walked into the door with my accent, all of a sudden, you know, my MBA means nothing. My master's degree in communications means nothing. Like, you know, it's tough.
I think awareness is key, right? For people to understand what the struggles are, and to understand this concept of layers, to understand the concept of the burden that is, you know, that people carry, that you carry. So sometimes people have not had that conversation. I think this is the start of a dialogue and a conversation. Is the start of building understanding and then taking action to make change. In the interest of time, because I'm watching the clock and I want to make sure we allow some time for our audience to ask questions. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, we have a lot of research to support the fact that women like diversity really leads to economic growth. So for example, we know that when you have at least one female founder on a company board, or two, then it might lead to even up to 30% of increase in financial profit, like in profit. I was looking at some things that talk about how cultural diversity promotes innovation, because you have people from different ethnicities bringing new perspectives and new ideas. There's this whole notion that's being floated around about diversity dividend and how diversity can, again, boost economic growth. And I'm wondering if you can comment a little bit on what are the opportunities in engaging Black female entrepreneurs in our ecosystem of entrepreneurship? Let's start with Paula.
There. I could only hear part of your question.
For sure, I can
It was
repeat that.
cutting in and out a little bit.
What are the,
Yes, please.
based on the diversity equation, and you know how diversity really drives innovation and economic growth. What are your, from your perspective, what are the opportunities in engaging more Black female entrepreneurs in our ecosystem of entrepreneurship?
Yes, absolutely. I believe that just the advertisement of, I really appreciated when WESC had opened up a membership, free membership for a year. And I had contacted several of my Black friends who are entrepreneurs to encourage them to become a WESC member. And hopefully a lot of them did. And I think that was a great way to open up, you know, some great contacts for women who are entrepreneurs to connect and to be supported and to be able to advertise their businesses. I happen to be a member of the Saskatoon Black Business Association. And that is really important to me and a lot of my brothers and sisters that are in business, that we're there to support each other and to be a liaison and be able to support in any way and give advice for each other. So, and being in a small community, that was really wonderful to be able to do that and to connect. So what I've done is I'm on the sort of not welcoming committee, but being able to contact any of the members, find out what they do and find out what their interests are, and I'm going to be showcasing them. I really love social media and giving shout outs to people in business. So I'm going to help elevate their business by posting their businesses, telling people what they do, location where they are at. And that's a great way to connect, to empower as well too, because it's hard being an entrepreneur, and it's hard even especially when you have your own business to be able to advertise and get that support. And so for us, having a Black community that's in business, that's supporting each other, is very important, because we feel alone out there and we need to connect with other brothers and sisters and say, hey, you know what, I just need your assistance. I started a new business, or I've been in business for a long time, and I want you to know what I'm doing. And I'm celebrating that by showcasing the different businesses that are out there. And a lot of people do not know a lot of the Black owned businesses. A lot of them don't know that at all. And that's been pushed a bit too, you know, because of what's been happening with Black Lives Matter as well too, is that we're taking the matters into our own hands, is what we're doing. Instead of waiting for other people to advertise for us or to support us, we're supporting each other as well too, and elevating that and connecting with WESC and with Shaken with a Twist, which I enjoy going to once a month on Thursdays, and interacting with women in business, having that time where they have a guest speaker and being able to showcase their businesses. So I'm really excited for the next few months of everyone hearing about new businesses that are here in Saskatchewan.
Well, thank you. Let's go over to you, Crystal.
Hi, is this better? Because I knew myself. I think the most important thing is collaboration. So like collaborate with like nonprofit like Black-owned nonprofit organization, whether it's immigrants, because for example, like when I came to this country, like how would I have known about WESC, right? If somebody told me about it. So if you collaborate with those organizations, you're able to meet other Black-owned business, and those Black-owned businesses, they're able to see like, okay, there's another place I can go apply for a loan, or like I can go and meet other business like-minded people, to where they don't feel so out of place, like, because we're not trying to divide anyone, we're trying to come together. So I think collaboration really works well in situations like this. In order for you guys to find out more Black-owned businesses, is working with non-profit organizations. Immigrants that come here, they want to be able to find out, like, okay, I know I can do this, but where are the resources? But if they have, okay, we'll give you can go here, they have that, they're able to do that, because that's the biggest thing I had a challenge with, was resources. But if you knew people, then you're able to do that. So I think collaboration is very important, and it's the world that we live in right now. It's a world of word of mouth. We are able to refer you to somebody. So I think that's the best thing we can do in this situation.
I'm going to go to our next question, because we have only 10 minutes, and I'm going to ask the question of Vero, because this is really important for making change in our community happen. And anti-racism as a concept has been around for decades, right? It's really about how we can change policies, practices, institutional procedures to transform so that there's no discrimination based on color. If I asked you, what are two things that organizations or individuals can do to change the situation, what would you say, Vero?
I would say, I mean, if we're talking about policy, about systemic policies, I think if we look at both governments and and the corporate world, I think it's about actually opening access to that for Black people, so that they can actually have a voice that's heard, and input that also influences. And so for me, for example, if we look at what's going on, there's in the political realm, I know the conservatives are having a race. For the first time ever, there's a Black woman that's running. How many times have you heard her on TV? Because personally, I heard her twice during the debate, the French one, the English one. Since then, not a word about her. And then people tell us, oh no, there's no systemic racism. I haven't heard. I don't know. Maybe I don't listen in the right places, but we talk about everybody else but her. So, and I'm not saying that I vote for her because de facto, because she's a woman. No, but I'm saying, let's give her a voice. We need to demand better from the media, better from our government. When we do polls, we can decide how many of such segments we're going to have. Are those segments representative? I know that because I've created poll and I've used polling, and you can decide to, make sure, for example, you have enough indigenous voice or a representative percentage of indigenous voice represented in your poll. Why not have the same for Black women or Black people in general, or people of color in general, so that you ensure that you actually have their voice represented. And so to me, there's things like that can be done. And then, it's also about making sure that we don't, what's the word? Basically put ourselves out of the running for anything. And so, for example, boards, whether they're corporate or Crown Corps or nonprofits, whichever, raise your hand. I mean, the onus is also on us to say, you know what? I have a voice, I have experience, I have knowledge, I have degrees, I have it all. I'm here. Don't count me out. And it starts by us not counting ourselves out and saying, you know what? I exist, I'm here, and I have an interest. Oh, you have a great company. I see you have a public board. How can I join you guys and bring my perspective? And putting ourselves out there. And then it's also the onus on them, obviously, to actually seek out people that are not in their network, that are not the old boys club, but saying, you know what? There are people of value all around us. Are we talking to the right people?
I always say this when I speak about women and leadership and being on boards, is in order to change the game, you have to be in the game. Like, you can't stand on the sidelines and change the game. where you want to, change the balance of power between men and women. And in order to make real change happen, women of color and Black women need to be in decision-making places and situations, and that's the only way that change can happen. So great points, Vero. Thank you. Let's go over to you, Paula.
Absolutely. I feel that employers need to take a look at the percentage of employees that they have and look at, I think it's time that we need to have more diversity. Looking at what areas that they can employ people of color. Of course, they have to have all the credentials and say, we're putting out interviews and we're looking at people of color. Because I feel that sometimes people cannot see past their nose. They're great businesses, they're serving the community, they're doing a lot of great things. And now it's like, we need to take a look at ourselves. We've seen, people that have been on the board, several board members, and they're all white. And there's people that have had the credentials, have experience, probably experienced longer than people that are on the board or in a work setting that could have been on there, that have applied and still have not been on the board. And so we need to raise our voices. We need to be visible to see us and hear us. And employees need to look at that diversity, look at how they can change their community by employing. Even just saying, in your community, I don't see that there's a balance in my community. Contacting, government and saying, what, there needs to be change. Because we have been screaming and shouting for 401 years. We have been. And now it is time, because people have been sick and tired of fighting and climbing and trying to be seen and heard. And I'm challenging other businesses to take a look at their businesses and see what they can do and sincerely do it, because it is the right thing to do.
Thank you. So over to you, Crystal. And then we'll take the questions.
Yeah, so that one I agree. I think one organization you need to go beyond offline, because you can post, you can talk about it just for the people to see, but what are you doing within your workplace, right? Are you having those conversations with your employees? I think there need to be more voices. That I agree. There need to be more voices of Black people, where the negotiations are being done, where the loan process are being done. We need to have Black people there, and it just, in your office, if everybody looks like you, the board of directors, if everybody looks like you, what are they learning? And what are you teaching the person next to you? And I don't mean just have to be men, even include women too. Like if it's just all men, it doesn't work like that. So include women, and also Black people need to be up there, because they're able to also see the process. They're able to say, okay, if you don't agree with this, I've been in this situation. I got up here because I've been in this situation. So I know this person is capable of doing this. So more voices. Social media is just what you want people to see. What are you doing behind social media? We can all post the blog screen that we all posted. We can all say we are standing up for each other, but are you talking to your employees? Are you able to have those conversations? I think some organizations need to have like monthly meetings where it's like, what can we do this month? Look around your office. It's like, okay, what are we missing? Do we have every diversity in here? Are we representing what we're putting on social media? So the conversation needs to continue beyond offline, and we need more voices of Black women. And when you host panelists, when you have events, include Black people, because like I say, I want to walk in a room and I can relate. I want someone to walk in a room and relate, because there's possibly a young me out there that has a passion and everything, but would they make it if society only blocks them at a certain point? Maybe not. So I want this to end here. We want to do better for the next generation. And in order to do that, the problem is up here, and every employee follow their employer. So if it changes up here, everybody else will change.
I mean, essentially, when we, as organizations, what I'm hearing from all of you is we need to take a look at our composition, at our diversity, make sure that we're making a concerted effort to hire Black people, to get Black people on boards, looking at our general practices to make sure that it's inclusive. And, it's a different, I mean, I'm sure we can spend another hour talking about how do we support Black female entrepreneurs in our community, right? And that might be a different kind of conversation. I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to take a couple of questions here. This is an important question being asked by Harleen Aurora, and her question is: Have you had experiences of being tokenized? How did you cope with that? Why don't we start with you, Paula?
Yes, I have had many, many experiences of being the token Black. And I have voiced my opinion in certain instances. I'm just on a new board, actually. Well, not on the board, but being a mentor, doing a mentorship. And I am the only Black person that is in the whole group, including the board and the whole membership. And I had a conversation actually with the executives yesterday, actually voicing my opinion on that. So I'm very vocal, very respectful and outspoken. And so I have opened my mouth and I have talked to people with, concerning my, issues that I have. And I believe honesty and openness is really important because, again, when I was saying it's hard to see past your nose, sometimes people may not think that they have this token, Black person or person of color. They feel that, well, I'm including one person, so that should be enough, because it's education. It's education, and having that education of teaching others that the importance of having more people of all cultures being a part of an event. So a lot of people, because we're in Saskatchewan too, it is a small, province, and maybe some people do not know other people of color or Black people that are in the community. So they see myself, they see Veronique and I attend events, and we're pretty much the two that are at certain events. And I think it's just the knowledge of knowing that there are a lot of other people out there. And sincerely, I think a lot of them don't mean to, and others are just don't know what to do. They don't know where to go, and they're too maybe embarrassed or shy to actually ask, how can we be more, inclusive? How can we bring more people, into the fold so that we feel that we're giving back to our community. We're building our community as well.
Thank you. Vero, do you want to chime into this?
Yeah. It happens all the time. I mean, how many times do I find myself on a board or on a committee or asked to mentor or whatever, because I am the Black person there or the Black person they know. And or they need representation, and all of a sudden, oh, Veronique, she's Black. So, Black, check. Women, check. Immigrant, check. Like I fit a few boxes. And, I look at that and I think, we could take offense and we could say, well, that's tokenism or whatever. I say it's my opportunity to shine and to show you that next time you won't have to think twice about having somebody like me on your board, on your committee, in your mentorship program, because I'm going to demonstrate that I have the credentials, I have the knowledge, I have the experience, I have the will, the commitment, you name it. I'm going to demonstrate that I was the perfect choice for that role, regardless of your intent when you started. So if you started thinking, I'm going to check the box, great, okay, fine, whatever. But the fact is, by the time we're done, you'll know I was the best choice. That's it. And so if all of us actually do that, of color or not of color, if we're women and we do that, maybe our voice will get louder, maybe we'll be taken more seriously. And yes, none of us like quotas and all of that. None of us like them. But sometimes I find that they're mean to a result. Sometimes it's what it takes for us to get to point B. And then eventually you discard them when you arrive at point B. But we're nowhere near point B. We're behind A. So for now, you want to give me tokenism? Fine, I'll take it, and then I'll rise above it.
Yeah, I'm with you because
Amen on that one.
tokenism is an opportunity to prove competency, right? And then that in turn will shift people's mindset about that particular group or segment of our community. Yeah, I'm totally with you on it. As much as we don't like it, we've got to take advantage of the opportunity. Crystal.
Absolutely.
For me, I guess it would be just I speak my mind now. I learn like I've been raised to be I'm African, so you're taught to be respectful to your elder. You're taught to do everything, just respect anyone that's older than you. But respect is earned. We don't hand it. So when I'm in a room and everyone's just questioning or like wondering if you're capable of doing this, or I guess I would say when I was younger, not everybody thought I would be capable of doing anything. Immigrant, you're done school. They had this, I don't want to say plan, but it's almost like to an extent where they thought we would go. But now it's like you run into them, they see, oh, you own a business. They tell my mom that, oh, she owns a business. Oh my God, with a shock. My sister's in university and doing all these things. We've rised up over what they really thought we were capable of. And we continue to work hard, we continue to do better than what they limit us to be on. Even when you're in a room, people will look at you and they question you. Like I've had people question me all the time. Oh, that's your business. It doesn't look like it's owned by you. Like, what do you mean it doesn't look like it's owned by me? Like, so it's something that we deal with every day. And some people probably, it's like, that's the way of how they speak, but it's like, but it shouldn't be the way that you speak. It shouldn't, like, my color should not be an option. It should not be the first thing you notice when I walk in a room. Like, yes, I'm Black. You should notice that every day, but notice me because of how I talk, or I showed up on time, or what I'm capable of doing. So I think that need to stop. I've dealt with that, and we have to prove ourselves all over again.
Maybe they think you can't own this because you look like you're 16 and you should be running such a successful business. So.
That's a problem, right? I'm a woman, I'm young, and I'm Black. So it's almost like that's already a struggle on its own. It's like, okay, like.
I think it's part of taking back on what Nick said, because being memorable, people will remember you. And then when you're bringing someone else in, because you have set a standard for yourself, and people are really like you, they support you. And when you're bringing others in, other Black people, then they're going to say, well, this is a friend of Paula. Well, she's upstanding, then her friends must be as well too, because of the company that you keep as well too, and how you strive and how hard you work. So
it's like a representation of who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see if we have any more questions. Do we have any more questions? Okay, so I think we've run out of time here. I want to thank the three of you, because here's something you did for me and for all of our audience today is you were bold, you were candid, you were forthright, very inspiring, and you demonstrated that we can have difficult conversations in our community with absolute respect. And you know what? That's a great starting point for making change happen in our community. So thank you for being here today, and hopefully this will be the start of many more dialogues we have through WESC on this issue. Thank you. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.